Hello everybody and welcome to another video of mine where I'm going to be doing some professional analysis today. Going to be looking at Protoss versus Zerg within Heart of the Swarm. And we're going to be looking at something rather specific when it comes to Protoss versus Zerg. We're going to be looking at how to open up. What is the build order that I should use? And then we're going to be looking at how to harass a Zerg player to keep them away from building drones, from just expanding all over the map. And then more importantly, how does this all connect and transition into a third base? And how do you set yourself up with a good army looking to play the late game? And the guy that's helped me out, and thank you very much for sending me this replay, is Mouzsports.MaNa. You may remember him from winning DreamHack 2012, summer 2012 against Demaga, and then later on through the year he won ESWC over Stefano. So the two championship titles he's won are against Zerg players, so he's a perfect fit today to find out how he's playing against Heart of the Swarm Zerg players. You can follow him on Twitter and on twitch.tv. As you can see, I'm wearing my Twitch t-shirt today. On Twitter, he is Mouzsports.MaNa, Mouzmana. And it's the same on Twitch. I'll put the links below so you can easily just go click and follow him. And he does stream quite regularly recently, so definitely check him out and see what he's doing. He's a great player, not just within this matchup as well. So let's go ahead and jump into game to kind of get into this and break down what we're going to be seeing today. So I'm going to play it through his vision. This is actually a training match against his teammate, Mouse Protosser, but we're going to be focusing purely on what Mouzsports.MaNa does. So I'm going to put it on his vision and just play the game. I'm going to be playing it through faster, up to about 12 minutes 30 is the cutoff point that I've made for myself here, and I'm going to be breaking down everything. Like every move that he makes, we're going to be looking at it. So the first things that go through his mind at the moment is literally, what am I going to do in this game, if he hasn't already thought about that. The second thing is just starting to line up probes on the closer mineral fields. There are, if we just pause it real fast, this one in the middle, this one I'm going to highlight, is a little bit closer towards the nexus. Likewise is this one here and this one here. And the distance is a little bit closer, therefore the probes can mine a little bit more minerals. They're faster towards the nexus, faster back, rather than having a longer travel distance. That's something that's probably going through his mind already. And of course, the pylon position on the natural, where's it going to be? And he puts it right in the correct location. So the pylon placement here, I can't actually see the radius. I'm not sure if I can see it with his vision either. No, I can't see it. So in a replay, I can't see it. But the radius of this pylon is going to go up to about this range. So he could, put a forge here, maybe another pylon over here, gateway, and just create a wall off between this green box on the left-hand side and another one over here, because he'll want to take a very fast nexus. It's a very common build to go nexus first, so that seems to be, of course, what he's looking for. Behind it, we'll want to get another probe in and just start to send the probe across the map, because right now there's not too much he needs to think about because the probe's traveling across the map, and this is where we're going to start to see him line up these probes on these closer mineral fields. So we already have one matched up here, and we'll see where he's going to get the next one down. And it's going to be on this right-hand side. There it is. So just kind of focusing on getting these down, getting close, mining a little bit more resources, because the main focus is not going to come into his mind until this probe gets to this point, where he's going to go in and we'll want to check to see if there's an early spawning pool. First of all, that's the main focus. And there isn't an early spawning pool. There's a lot of drones here, and you can pretty much see, if you just drag, or you can't drag in game like that, but you can see that there's about 13, coming 14 drones. So there's no early spawning pool. And if you think about an early spawning pool, a 9 pool, that's 9 drones spawning pool, and there's clearly more than that. So he's comfortable with what's going down. To be honest, you could probably pick up the probe and go home now, but we want to extract every little bit of value from every unit we have in a game of StarCraft 2, which is why we see him mining from this mineral field. It's not to take resources, it's to push this drone away, because this drone ideally would have liked to mine from this patch, but now he has to go all the way to the other side. And you see, Protosser actually manually sends it back. And even again here, they were fighting, you don't really need to rewind it, they were fighting over this mineral field and this one. So just a little bit of harassment here from Mana. It's very minute, but it's something better than nothing, I like to say. And then after this, because very shortly, he's got to be careful not to get surrounded, doesn't want to just lose his probe, he'll send it down to the natural, because he has to start to get ready to block the Zerg player from trying to take a fast hatchery down. Because if he sends a drone down now, he's going to easily go and build a hatchery. So Mana ideally will want to get down here roughly, just on the 2-minute 30 mark. You can be a little bit late if you're, being a bit daring here. But he comes down, and as you can see, patrol move, just to keep the drone from building it as he wants to on 300 resources. Behind this, though, nothing but probes have been made. There's been a couple of chronoboosts into the Nexus, and we're up to 17 supply. On the 17 supply, MaNa, will rewind this just for a couple of seconds here at 2:30, and then just to show you, sends down a probe on 17 supply just as he's about to get 400 minerals himself, where he can throw down the Nexus. And that's his build next. What he'll want to be focusing on after this is getting the forge down quite fast, a secondary pylon, and a gateway. And we'll look at that in a couple of seconds here, because this is where we go back to where I just was, where the harassment continues. Some players like to put a pylon down here, but it's not really necessary once you have a Nexus down so fast. Because if you throw down a pylon, you're not going to be able to afford the forge, which means that if he, when his spawning pool completes in 15 seconds time, sends lings across, you may not be able to hold. So the focus here is at 150 minerals, which we have. The forge should be coming down, and it's there. But really good delaying tactics. If you think about it, there's 400 minerals in the bank for the Zerg player, and an Overlord just got built. He's pushed the Zerg player 200 minerals past when he wanted the hatchery down, and it's even higher. It's going higher. A queen's been built before the hatchery comes down. And then with one last hit, the probe can actually survive one more hit and then go, but the hatchery gets down. But that was a really good delaying tactic there from MaNa. And behind this, we do see the pylon inside the main base. He's gone up to 18 probes. I do want to go over every little point here, just to go over everything, make sure no leaf is unturned. And we have this probe being built. So probe being built, pushing up to 18 supply. And then behind it, we have a pylon to be built. Boop. Pylon being built at 18 supply, and then at 18 again we'll want to see the gateway come down, and then a cannon as he leaves. This probe can either come all the way home, which it probably should, because if he stays on the Xel'Naga tower, lings are coming anyway. There's going to be lings coming, so it'll just die, so it's probably better to send it all the way home. And here's the gateway coming down. And this is already a bit of a wall completed. There's one key structure missing, which will be the Cybernetics core, and then a little gap for a Zealot or something. So there's this opening build from MaNa, a bit of harassment already into grabbing down this natural Nexus forge, and then a cannon should come next right behind the forge, and then we have this little wall off starting to build itself up. And now probe production can begin again. A chronoboost can go into the Nexus because this pylon enabled him to continue to build probes while his Nexus is not quite ready, and then gases can start to be taken. Well, actually, look at this probe. It went to the Xel'Naga tower and then went to the left-hand side to check for the hatchery, and then will probably go home now. So he now knows, MaNa, that his Zerg opponent is playing 3 hatcheries. He knows that no early aggression is coming. He knows that he's safe to do whatever he wants now. Doesn't need to be over-aggressive when it comes to scouting. We notice that 2 gases come down at 20 supply. This is a completely normal time to get your gases, because very shortly, once the Cybernetics core finishes, you're going to need to be getting, Warp Gate Research, a Stalker, maybe a Mothership core. But before that's done, we're just chrono boosting into the Nexus, making sure that we get a good amount of probes out, getting into gas. Now the gateway's finished, the Cybernetics core can come down. And there's your little wall off. So this probe, if it was to sit there, it is Zergling proof. So if Zerglings try to run through, the probe will block it. But because he's seen that 3rd hatchery, he knows that no huge amount of Zerglings are coming. Therefore, he doesn't need to leave the probe there just in case. Maybe for some players not seeing this, they may just keep the probe there until the Zealot is ready to block it for them. So the game is starting to unfold a little bit now, as MaNa just focuses on probe production for now. The next real thing he's going to have to focus on is getting a Zealot out when he can afford it. And then when the Cybernetics core is complete, then he'll have to get Warp Gate Research, get a Stalker, and maybe a Mothership core, depending on if he wants to use it or not. And so far, things are very calm for him, I suppose. Just focusing on probe production. We look through his eyes, looking at his main Nexus, looking at his natural, building a pylon as he's at 33 out of 36. But now things are going to start to happen if I take it off his vision. His Warp Gate Research needs to be made. A Stalker probably will need to be made. But I want to just rewind it for a second, because he's got +1, and I want to show that. So let's come back again to 510. Okay, so because he started mining gas quite early on at 20 supply, it's now 31 supply. He has 128 gas in the bank, and now decides to research +1 after the Zealot is made here. So with +1 coming down, this already starts to set him up for harassment, because with +1 zealots, they are much, much better against zerglings, drones, queens, everything. They have an attack upgrade. So now this pylon comes in, and we go back to where I just were. The next thing coming from this gateway should be a stalker. It can be sentry, but if he's gonna be harassing with this +1 attack, it should definitely be a stalker coming out next. And there it is. With the zealot, you always want to, if you're not afraid of any early aggression, to like fill the hole here, which he's definitely not because of these 3 hatcheries, then you want to be taking the Zelnoga tower so you can actually start to take map control and put yourself in the dark a little bit, and the Zerg player not knowing what you're doing. We actually see the mothership core being made here. So I want to follow his gas from the very first point it was made. So I'm going to put it around here, and I want to show you where his gas goes. So he's got 16 gas being made. The first bit of gas he's going to use it on is +1. That's the first 100 gas that he's mined on +1. The next bit of gas is on Warp Gate Research. 50, that's 150 gas. And then the next is another 50 on the Stalker. So now he's used 200 gas from that he'd mined earlier on. The next part of his gas is 100, which will then be going into the mothership core, and he's perfectly timed it out well. So and this probe finishes, I think this is when we see the mothership core being made. Look at that, down to 12 gas. So perfect use of his gas here, perfect time to get the gas at 20 supply, and then nailing it perfectly across all of these 4 structures that we see on his natural. +1, Warp Gate Research, Stalker, and then mothership core. All lead towards aggression, and as you can see, he's chrono boosting out the mothership core to get it out on the field. And then the mothership core and Stalker should lean together and come out at the same time. And I want to pause it now because the next big move in this game has been made. As you see, everything's kind of normal. Pylons are being built. We got these 4 structures that are, spending that gas. But now he's thrown down double gas. A lot of things, not a lot of things. A lot of people, when they ask me, when do I get my gases and stuff? He's getting his gases now at 6:15 roughly here. And the reason why he's getting them is because he's setting up for a transition already. Because he knows, he's mapped out what he's going to do, and this is the next stage of what he's going to do here. And that will be able to, well, very shortly, as the gas starts getting mined, 'cause it's not getting mined yet, it's only being built, he will build up additional gateways, which he can throw down 1, 2, 3 gateways to go to a total of 4. And he can throw down a Stargate maybe before that if he wants to be more harassful, depending on if he wants to use a Stargate or gateway units to put the pressure on. But then, with the gases being mined here, he'll be able to start his sentry production, which is at 100 gas per sentry, right? So that's quite a lot of gas. If you look at his income at the moment, it's 225 off 2 assimilators. And with 4, it's going to go up to roughly 500. And then if he's at 500 per minute, that's a lot of gas that he's now able to build sentries, can get the robotics facility, the Twilight Council, and transition away from simple harassment. But here comes the first bit of harassment. Zealot, Stalker, and the mothership core. And I'm looking at the production tab just in case I miss anything, and there we do see this coming down. So after the use of another Stalker, so if we go back to how he spent his gas, 100, 50 on this, 50 on the first Stalker, 100 on the mothership core, and another 50 on the Stalker, and then with his next 150, he's built a Stargate here at the back, which will be another level of harassment. So with the mothership core and Stalker and Zealot, they'll all want to fight together, and the goal here is try to pick off drones and queens. Force units, not drones, which is what every Protoss player ideally will want to do at this point. So 2 Lings go down very easily, and now he's onto the drone line already, and this is perfect for him. He's going to get 1 drone kill, should get a second, and he does. But now there are quite a few Lings out. Protoss does respond at a good time here. But with the mothership core here, it's a little bit annoying. And ideally, you'd want at least a couple more drones for a queen kill. And it looks like he was trying to go for the queen kill and get surrounded by these Lings, which is a bit of a mistake from him. Or you could say nice play from Protosser. But now he's focusing on this queen. With the Zealot and no creep, 2 drones and a queen is a good trade for a Zealot and Stalker here. Good successful trade, as long as he doesn't lose the mothership core, because that'll be useful in the secondary wave, which is coming from the Oracle, a new Heart of the Swarm unit, which I'm sure you're getting very familiar with. So 3 gateways behind this. So if we follow what he's been doing, if we just rewind it for a minute, because you'll really want to go close, because this should be, aspiring to all Protoss players on how to play this matchup. So after he's thrown down the Stargate, we looked at the harassment, but I'm going to ignore the harassment and look at what's next. An overlord is in the base. That second stalker has been built to eliminate this overlord, to get rid of it. And now he's able, with his money starting to float up, to build additional gateways. And he probably would have built the third one straight away, but he didn't quite have money for it. And then while he's harassing at the same time, remember StarCraft, a game of multiple actions in different locations, will throw down a fourth gateway. 4 gateways in total is just the right number. You don't want 3, you don't want 5, because 3 is too little to start to build a force up to take a third base. 5 is too much. You build too much of an army, which takes away from your goal here, transitioning away into something else. So all he's been doing behind this, as you can see, is just building pylons, and now added on 3 extra gateways, which is starting to transition away from everything now, away from this early harassment into building something more solid, which is production facilities ready to get an army to take a third base. And as you can see, sentry production has begun with the use of this gas, and with the use of this gas, he's also able to get down the robotics facility and +1 armor. So now you're starting to see the gas being spent across multiple fronts, which is the reason why he took the double gas there at 6 minutes and 15 seconds. But now it's time to have some funsies, because we have the Oracle on the way, and then even Phoenix is behind it. So while he's setting up his build, if you compare this to a normal Protoss player, I mean a Protoss player that doesn't harass, he'd be doing something similar without the Stargate, without this +1 attack, but he would have left the Zerg player to do whatever they want. In this game, MaNa's been on top of things. He's scouting the gases on this third base. He's coming in for another attack. He's already killed a queen and 2 drones. Let's see what he can get this time. And now with the Oracle using the pulsar beam, he gets 1 kill, 2 kill, 3 kills in total, and another queen. So, and 4 kills. What's that now? 6 kills in total, and a queen, 7, and 2 queens. 7 kills and 2 queens. He's run out of energy. Probably could have and should have sniped this drone here, but he comes over to this side and then runs out of energy, which is kind of unfortunate. But if you look at the success of this, 7 drones, 2 queens, and a lot of units that were made that weren't drones. So I give that a pretty good success. I want to rewind it now, because that part of the harassment is done, and I want to look at what he was doing in the background. So it looks like he's now just made or warped in units. What units are they that he's warping in? 2 zealots and a sentry from these gateways. With building 2 sentries before, or a single sentry and then warp, no, 2 sentries it was, build 2 sentries and then was able to warp in a sentry zealot and then probably another zealot. What you start to focus on is, because you've stopped probe production at this point in the game, you're at 51 probes. And at 51 probes here, you don't need any more. So if you don't build probes and you've already got your production facility, what are you spending your minerals on? And, you know, if you think about it, nothing. So what you do is you start to spend your minerals on zealots and your gas on sentries. And what this will do is enable you to move down with zealot sentries, because you can move down with sentries, but you need zealots to beat the Zerglings. And then you can move down to take a new base. Behind this, an observer being made as this harassment is going on that we just looked at. An observer is going to go across the map to find out what exactly his opponent's doing. But the key focus for MaNa is to warp in one more round of 3 zealots, pull a probe, and get down there and build this nexus. And the transition is starting to happen. As you can see, the harassment continues here. He picks up another queen and is delaying lava injects and creep spread while building the nexus. One key thing here, which I'm going to note, was a mistake from MaNa, and I already told him this on Skype, and he did agree with me, is that he missed one important tech structure. And if any Protoss player can notice, it's the Twilight Council. The reason why it's missing is not to research Blink or Zealot Charge, it's more to continue upgrades. As you can see, the +1 armor is about roughly just over 50, it's like 55% complete. If he throw down the Twilight Council right about now, as he's expanding, which he does have 200 gas for, the Twilight Council only being 100 gas, if I'm not mistaken, let me just double check that. Yeah, 100 gas. He could continue his upgrades and get +2 attack. But this is something he missed. But that's just a bit of a mistake here. But what we need to focus on now is getting this nexus and maybe creating a wall to help protect it. Harassment has gone on and is still going on behind this. And as you can see, Zerglings come in. But with the amount of sentries, 3 sentries with good energy, 6 zealots, this is not going to be broken anytime soon. And then with the Mothership Core on its way back, great use of this Mothership Core, 2 times harassment. And then he's able to come back and it has 200 energy for double photon overcharge if massive amounts of aggression comes in. MaNa now, as you can see, is doing a couple of things which I'll highlight. 2 gateways. First of all, to create a wall off. And now the wall is within this green box. This is where the Zerg army must come from if they want to fight here. And with sentries, he's going to be able to chop this green box in multiple different portions where he's able to fight well. And then with this probe, you'll obviously want to add some cannons behind or in front, probably in front here. Behind will probably, if you put some here, they might not be able to fight over here for units that attack from this angle because the range of a cannon is something like this. So there's a big gap here where units can stream in, so we probably want to put them in the front. And then with the Phoenixes, no, I don't want to talk about the Phoenixes yet. This is the second important key structure he's adding on. If there was a Twilight Council with this, it would have been perfect, but he's adding on the Robotics Bay. Because a usual transition for a lot of players, for a lot of Zerg players at this point, is Hydras, because he's seen the Phoenixes. And then also Ling Roach is strong after the Force Field energy is depleted. Initially, you're okay, you can force field for a while, but when the energy depletes and you can't force field anymore, Lings and Roach just overwhelm you. But if you have Colossus dealing damage onto them with the force field, then you're going to be able to survive a lot longer. And now coming over to these Phoenixes, a very important thing for these Phoenixes, yes, keep up harassment, but scout. You have to scout, whether it's Aspire, Hydroden, because at the moment, if we just look at MaNa's vision, take off the production tab, all he's seen is this area and this 4th base. Doesn't know about the natural, doesn't know about the main, he's very blind, so he needs to figure out what's going on. And with these Phoenixes, he's able to pick up an overload kill, continue that harassment, and then he's going to be able to move down and bada bing, bada boom, scout the Hydroden, see it researching. If you look at it closely, it's bubbling up and down. You know it's researching something, so he knows that Hydras are going to be used here. He even gets in here to pick off a Queen, can pick off a couple of drones, and just continuing that harassment as he picks off that Queen while building up everything at home. And Immortals come in as well because he was unsure of the army composition. Oracle still survives with 5 kills that can be used later on. And now he's even seen the Hydras for 100% confirmation that Hydras are being used here, and he even manages to pick one off. Because sometimes you see the Hydroden, and in this game it actually happens here, that, you know, sometimes you pick up a scout of both, and you're not really too sure which one to believe is true. In this game, if he had have seen the spy, he would have believed it was Hydras, not Mutalisk, because of the spy is very late here, but he didn't see anything anyway. But upon seeing Hydras already out, he knows that his opponent is building Hydras with his gas, not Mutalisk, so he doesn't really need to build a lot more Phoenixes. He may add on a single one to go up to 5 or something to continue harassment, but he could virtually stop building Phoenixes at this point and focus on Colossus production, which he's doing. And now the double cannons are down. And this is basically, you know, nearing towards the end of this video. I wanted to break down everything from the opening to the harassment to how to set yourself up to play the mid to late game, which is what we're getting into now. And as soon as you can get down here with probes, you just take the gases. There is no gas timing on the 3rd base. It's just immediately. As soon as you get it, you build it, because everything at this point needs gas. Colossus is 200 gas a pop. Building the Twilight Council is 100 gas. Plus 2 attack once he gets it, 150 gas, more sentries, more stalkers, you know, increasing his tech again, you know, and going up to DTs, High Templar, more air units, whatever he chooses, basically. So it's all important just to get that gas down. But now he's set up really well. He's got the Mothership Core in position in case an attack is to come, and he can use that Photon Overcharge as described. And he's about to have his first Colossus out, perfectly timed. When the Hydras arrive, the Colossus is there. He's got force fields now. So no matter what happens, if there's a Hydra attack here, he's fine. And with an observer in there, he can spot units coming forth. And at this point, it's all about just building up a big army. He can go out in the middle of the map with a Colossus and even take a fight against these Hydras. And Protoss knows it and backs off. And this is kind of the end of the game, because a lot of different transitions can occur from here. And, you know, he can take a 4th base very shortly. He can continue upgrading. But this is what I really wanted to look at today, was opening, harassment, and transitions. So if you follow this closely and you rewind the video and look at it again in more detail, hopefully Protoss players can pick up a lot from this, learn a lot, and maybe do something similar as MaNa has done in this game. And it looks so smooth, so clean. If you look at the beginning of the game, if I just jump in here once again, you know, if you look, because when I study races, and then if I, you know, fall asleep or forget to concentrate and lose focus, I'm looking at a game, and a lot of you may look at the same as I do sometimes. As you look at it, you're like, you know, forward expand, standard, you're going to fall asleep, and, you know, all of a sudden you're like, Holy cow. Okay, third base is in. Okay, he's got Colossus. And then all of a sudden you're like, well, how did he get there? You know, how did that happen? How did he do all that? How can I do what he just did? And it's very easy if you just follow that middle part, which I just showed you, and go from there, really. Whew, a lot of talking, a lot of analysis, a lot of information out there for you to improve your Protoss versus Zerg. This applies on all maps out there. Obviously different wall-offs, but pretty similar way to play. You don't always have to get the +1 attack. You don't always have to get the Oracle, but this is one way to approach playing Protoss versus Zerg. So guys, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Make sure to subscribe to my channel for more awesome content coming your way, and make sure to go into the description box below and follow MaNa on Twitter and like his Twitch stream, and make sure to check out some of his live games a couple of times in a row because they are pretty good. All right, thank you, MaNa, and thank you guys for watching.